Good morning. I'm back with you for Chapter 24, The Adventures of Blimp Boy. Connor poured the portal potion on his next story, and he and his mom stepped through the beam of light. Charlotte marveled at the world of handwritten words waiting on the other side. She laughed and gasped as her son's handwriting rolled around them. "Connor, this is incredible," she said. "Where are the characters?" "Mom, we're not in the story yet," he said. This is just the area that creates the story around us. It's like the portal potion's lobby. The Adventures of Blimp Boy starts in India. You'll know we're there when you see a jungle. "How fun," Charlotte said. "I'd never been to a jungle before." She watched in wonder as the words jungle, trees, temple ruins, and screeching monkeys stretched and filled the empty space around them. Word by word, a tropical Indian wilderness was created before their eyes. There were thousands of thick trees with large drooping leaves and vines. It was very warm and so humid that their clothes stuck to their bodies. Playful monkeys growled and shrieked as they climbed through the trees' branches above. Over the treetops, Connor and Charlotte could see the spiraling towers of an ancient temple in the distance. "This is it," Connor told his mom. Charlotte dug through her purse and pulled out a bottle of lotion. She rubbed it on her face and arms and then handed it to her son. "What's that?" Connor asked. "It's insect repellent with SPF," Charlotte said. "I don't want us getting sunburned or bitten while we're in the jungle." Connor could already tell this was going to be a long trip. He rubbed the repellent on his skin and handed it back to his mom. Charlotte walked around the jungle like she was inspecting a house for sale. "Well, it's nice," she said. "There are lots of plants and interesting animals to watch. But that heat is really gets to you, doesn't it?" "Don't worry, we won't be here very long," Connor said. "The lead character should be running by any minute now." They heard a rustling in the jungle as someone ran toward them from the temple. A few moments later, a 14-year-old boy appeared. He came to a halt when he saw Connor and Charlotte. They were the last things he expected to see in a jungle. The boy wore an aviator hat with goggles and flaps over his ears, a fitted brown leather jacket, khaki pants, and tall boots. His face was bright red and he panted from running. He held a golden relic shaped like a human hand tightly under his arm. The boy looked like he could have been Connor's little brother. "Who are you?" he asked them. Charlotte shook his hand excitedly. "Hi there," she said. "I'm Connor's mom, Charlotte. It's very nice to meet you." The boy stared at her strangely. Was he supposed to know her son? Connor sighed and slapped his palm against his forehead. "Mom, he doesn't know who we are yet," he whispered to her. "We have to act like this is the first time we're meeting him." "My apologies," Charlotte whispered back. "I'll let you do all the talking." Connor turned toward the boy and tried to smooth things over. "Forgive my mom," Charlotte said. "She's a little delirious. We got separated from our tour guide and have been lost in the jungle for days. It's so good to see another human being. What's your name?" "I'm Bo Rogers," the boy said. A series of thunderous growls came from the jungle behind him. Bo glanced back and gulped nervously. Although they couldn't see what was coming, they could hear a group of animals rushing through the trees toward them. "We're all about to become lunch if we don't get out of here," Bo said. "Follow me if you value your life." Bo sprinted into the trees and gestured for Connor and Charlotte to come with him. Connor ran after him, but when he turned around, he saw his mom hadn't moved. She was standing in the same spot, stretching her feet and legs. "Mom, we have to go," Connor yelled. "I know, I heard him," she said, "but I really regret it if I don't stretch before running. You'll know what I'm talking about when you get to be my age. Okay, now I'm ready." Another roar sounded through the jungle. Connor and Charlotte could see that the commotion was coming from a pack of tigers running straight for them. Charlotte screamed and ran after Bo faster than Connor had ever seen her move before. He followed but could barely keep up with her. "I never knew you ran so fast," Connor said. "I ran track in college," Charlotte said. "Those are real tigers chasing us. What are real tigers doing in your story?" "What were you expecting, puppets?" Connor asked. "I guess I was expecting everything to be more innocent, like a school project," she yelled. "I didn't think I'd be running for my life." Connor and Charlotte caught up with Bo, but as they gained distance, the tigers did too. They got closer by the second, and it wasn't long before they were close enough to swipe at them. Whenever a tiger got too close, Charlotte smacked it on the nose with her purse. To add to their troubles, Bo was leading Connor and Charlotte right to the edge of a cliff. The tigers started slowing down, assuming their prey had nowhere to go. Bo didn't seem discouraged by it at all by the cliff, though. In fact, it made him run even faster. "We're almost there," Bo yelled. "Almost where?" Charlotte said. "We're trapped between death and death." "Mom, Bo knows what he's doing," Connor said. "When we get to the cliff, we have to jump." "What?" Charlotte yelled. "You have to trust me or you'll be cat food," Connor said. Charlotte ignored every instinct to slow down and continued running with the boys. Right when they reached the cliff, a massive blimp rose above the edge like a sunrise. The blimp was bright white like an oval cloud, and a long silver gondola with several round windows stretched under its belly. An old woman aboard the blimp slid its wide door open just in the nick of time, and Bo, Connor, and Charlotte jumped over the cliff and landed inside. They collapsed on the blimp's floor and stayed in a dog pile until they caught their breath. The tigers on the ground dropped their jaws in unison. They had never seen their lunch float away in a giant balloon before. "Time to diet, you overgrown felines," the old woman yelled at the tigers below, and she slammed the door shut with gusto. The old woman wore pearls, high heels, and a fur coat with goggles and an aviator hat just like Bo's. She had a familiar raspy voice and saucy attitude. It only took Charlotte a couple of seconds to realize the old woman was based on Mother Goose. "That was closer than a run-in I had with Bonnie and Clyde," the old woman said. "I see you picked up some friends, Bo." "I wasn't expecting the temple to be filled with tigers," Bo said. "Why are the ancient ruins always filled with giant predators? Just once I'd like to walk into a tomb and find a flock of sheep." "I wasn't talking about the cats," the old woman said. "Oh, obviously," Bo said. "Aunt MG, this is Connor and his mother, Charlotte. I found them in the jungle right after I left the temple. Apparently they got separated from their tour guide and have been lost in the jungle for a couple of days." MG eyed Connor and Charlotte over her goggles. "You look awfully cleaned up for being lost in the jungle," she said. "My mom's really into personal hygiene," Connor said. "I'm a nurse," Charlotte said with a shrug. MG was pleased to hear it. "I always love meeting a fellow working woman," she said. "Welcome aboard the Charlie Chaplin." The old woman helped Bo, Connor, and Charlotte to their feet and shook their hands. "Did you name the blimp after the actor?" Charlotte asked. "Actually, he named himself after the blimp," Bo said. "He's MG's ex-boyfriend." MG twirled her pearls and blushed. "Oh no, he was just a fling," she said. "Poor kid fell madly in love with me, but I was too old for him and had already vowed not to date any more actors." "Speaking of ancient history, did you get the relic, Bo?" Her grandnephew held up the golden hand. "Presenting the fourth and final golden hand of Shiva," he said it happily. "Way to go, kiddo," MG said. "You've collected them all. The Delhi Museum will be ecstatic." Bo placed the golden hand on the shelf with 3 identical relics. Connor and Charlotte looked around the blimp with wide eyes. There were shelves and cases filled with artifacts, statues, tools, coins, and jewelry from ancient ruins from around the world. All the walls of the Charlie Chaplin were covered in maps of various places with pins indicating where Bo and MG had traveled. Connor knew where each and every artifact came from and the different adventures Bo had had collecting them. The only one he didn't recognize was a small dot made of rope. Bo slapped his hand as he reached for it. "Don't touch that, it's cursed," Bo warned him. Connor nodded. He remembered it now. Charlotte looked around the blimp at all of Bo and MG's belongings. She couldn't believe her son had created a world in which such unique details and original characters. "You've collected all of these?" Charlotte asked. "Not us, it's all him," MG said and patted her grandnephew on the back. "Bo is the youngest archaeologist in the world. He earned his doctorate when he was just 12 years old. "That's actually my second," Bo clarified. "I got my first doctorate in political science when I was 10, but that was before I realized archaeology was my passion." "That's extraordinary," Charlotte said. "I'm sure your parents are very proud." Bo lowered his head sadly. "Actually, my parents died when I was 5. My mom was a flapper and my dad was a musician. They were performing in an underground nightclub when the building above it collapsed from all the barrels of gin the owner was hiding in the attic." "Prohibition," MG groaned. "It took away from the joy from so many people. I've been caring for the little rascal ever since. I've supported him through every step of his archaeology ambitions. A lot of my friends thought I was crazy when I sold my brownstone and bought a blimp to travel the world, but if you ask me, it was a great investment. Everyone's crazy about planes these days, but I think blimps will be the transportation of the future." "We've had some good times aboard the Charlie Chaplin," Bo said. "We've gone on so many adventures, seen so many astonishing places, and met so many interesting people. Speaking of which, where are you guys headed? Is there a place we can drop you off at?" With just a look, Connor reminded his mom to let him do the talking. "The rest of our group was headed to Egypt," he said. "You wouldn't by chance be headed there in that direction, would you?" MG was so tickled by the coincidence she slapped her knee. "You're in luck," MG said. "We're headed to the ancient pyramid of Anesthesia right now. Bo's got his heart set on the mythical talisman." Charlotte was confused. "Anesthesia?" she whispered to her son. "I heard you and Bob talking about it once and thought it sounded like an ancient pyramid," Connor whispered back. "Tell us more about this talisman. It sounds super neat." Bo was more than excited to talk about it. He retrieved a rolled-up map from a stack in the corner and spread it out on the table in the center of the gondola. The map was of the southeast Egypt and showed a giant pyramid located near the Nile, a few miles south of Cairo. Bo yanked an illustration of the talisman off the wall and placed it on top of the map. The talisman was a gold medal with several Egyptian hieroglyphics carved into it. The lost talisman of Pharaoh Eczema, Bo said theatrically. According to legend, the pharaoh was so beloved by his people they presented him with the golden talisman. Unfortunately, the token of appreciation made the gods jealous. When the pharaoh grew old and became ill, he was afraid the gods would punish him unfairly in the underworld. So at the time of Eczema's death, 1,000 of his most devoted soldiers were killed, mummified, and buried with him in the pyramid so he wouldn't enter the underworld alone. The gods were furious and denied the soldiers entrance to the underworld, forcing them to roam the pyramid as the undead. Since they can't protect the pharaoh in the underworld, the soldiers protected his remains in the pyramid. Wow, Charlotte said and glanced at Connor. That's unsettling. But wait, there's more, Bo said. The legend also states that the pharaoh Eczema's soul bestowed mythical powers to the talisman. Whoever wears it has complete control over the mummified soldiers in his pyramid. The pharaoh was buried with the talisman in a golden chamber deep in the pyramid of anesthesia. The chamber was surrounded by a maze, and the pharaoh's casket is patrolled by his most treasured and loyal guardian. Connor, that sounds just like the talisman you wanted to collect, Charlotte said. Is it the same, or is there more than one? The horrified gaze Connor sent his mother was the exact expression Bo sent him. Once again, Connor slapped his palm against his forehead, and Charlotte knew she had made a mistake by sharing their plan. You're after the talisman too, Bo said. Kind of, Connor said. I happen to dabble in archaeology as well. My mom and I are planning to find the talisman and donate it to the Not-So-Natural History Museum in Cairo. Well, you can forget about it, Bo yelled. The talisman's mine. It's the one of the reasons I went into archaeology. MG, open the door. Let's kick these Tomb Raiders off of the Charlie Chaplin. I should have never saved you in the jungle. Easy, Bo, MG said. Technically, the talisman doesn't belong to either of you. It belongs to Pharaoh Itchy, or whatever his name is. It seems only fair that both of you go to the pyramid and let you duke it out the old-fashioned way. Bo nodded. You're right, Aunt MG, he said. We'll fight to the death. MG sighed. Oh, Bo, she said. I meant you'll have to race for it. That seems reasonable, Charlotte said. We can even set a starting mark so it'll be completely fair. Connor quickly pulled his mother aside. Mom, stop agreeing. You know I need the talisman to recruit the mummies into our army. If my son is going to become a warlord, he's going to do it by doing it honestly. Besides, I'm not letting you go inside that pyramid alone now that I know that it's filled with zombie mummies, Charlotte snapped. How much longer until we reach the pyramid of anesthesia? It's going to take all night, but we'll get there by morning, MG said. Then it's settled, Charlotte said. Tomorrow you can both go into the pyramid together, and whoever finds the talisman first can keep it. Neither of the boys were happy about having to race for the talisman. Connor never pictured a scenario where the hero of his story would turn into his competition. He had created the pyramid of anesthesia, so hopefully it wouldn't be too hard to navigate it, but he had also written Bo to be the best archaeologist in the world. It wasn't going to be an easy race. MG shifted the gears of the Charlie Chaplin, and the blimp sailed into the western sky. Anesthesia or bust, the old woman said. And I'm going to stop the chapter there. I'll see you in the next book.